Welcome to the Grammar Goblin Content Writing Basics series. In this video, I'm going to show you 6 types of words that should always begin with a capital letter and 1 type of word that should never begin with a capital letter. I'm Kelly from the Grammar Goblin, and let's get started. The first type of word that should always begin with a capital letter is the word that starts a sentence. The first word of a sentence always gets a capital letter, no matter what type of word it is. Let's have a look at some examples. That secretary has your portfolio. You can see that gets a capital T. It doesn't matter what type of word it is. It could be a proper noun, it could be the name of a person, it doesn't matter. That gets a capital letter because it's the first word of the sentence. Our next example is, let's meet in boardroom number 5. Let's gets a capital L because it's the first word of your sentence. Our next example is, you need to adhere to company protocol. You gets a capital Y because, you guessed it, it's the first word of the sentence. And there you have it, number 1, done and dusted. The second type of word to always start with a capital letter is names of people and other proper nouns. Now, what exactly is a proper noun? That's a really good question. Let's dig into it. A proper noun is the name of a person, a place, like a city, a country, a company, a political party, a religion, or a form of address, like mom. Now, a form of address can get a little bit tricky. So you would use a capital M for mom if you say, mom's coming home soon, but not if my mom's coming home soon. You would put a capital letter on a proper noun like Jason. Jason is the name of a person, so you would make a capital J for Jason. Same goes with all other names of people. You would put a capital letter at the start of any city's name. Durban, Johannesburg, Port Elizabeth, Cape Town, Kwakwa, any name of a city or town gets a capital letter. Names of companies or businesses also begin with capital letters. So something like Adidas, Coca-Cola, Nike, your business, they all start with capital letters. And there you have your second type of word that always begins with a capital letter, proper nouns. Our third type of word that always gets a capital letter is a little bit of a shady one again. I'm really sorry, but this is English for you. Even with hard and fast rules, there are always slight little differences, and this is what makes English so tricky. This one is all about quotes. If you're going to be writing something in quotation marks, it usually begins with a capital letter, but there are exceptions. Let's have a look at what I'm talking about. If you're writing something like, Pindile asked, where's everyone going after work today? In those quotation marks where you're writing, where's everyone going after work today, you would start that with a capital W on the where, because she's writing a whole sentence of what she's saying, right? So because you start every sentence with a capital letter, you're going to put a capital W on your where. Where's everyone going to work today is a complete sentence. So that quotation would begin with a capital letter, and that's a must. The time when you don't start a quotation with a capital letter would be if it's not going to be a full sentence. So you could say, everybody was too busy to go anywhere after work that night. The quotation was too busy. Now, you can tell that too busy is not a whole sentence all by itself. Do you think too busy is going to start with a capital letter? No, it won't, because too busy is not a whole sentence. So the T of too busy, of too, is not going to get a capital letter. So let's have a look at this in writing so that you can see it nice and clear. You can see that this quotation is a whole sentence, and so it begins with a capital letter. And this one you can see is not a whole sentence, it's just a word or two, just a few words, and so it doesn't begin with a capital letter. And that's that type of word done and dusted. Let's move on to the next one. Number 4, days, months, and holidays, but not seasons. Days, months and holidays all begin with capital letters, and you know what? I feel really sorry for seasons, and to be quite honest, I really often write them with capital letters too. But I guess I should stop doing that, being a grammar goblin and all. So days, any day of the week, Monday to Sunday, you write with a capital letter. Any month of the year from January to December, you're also going to write with a capital letter. Holidays, Christmas, Easter, Valentine's Day, Halloween, any kind of major holiday, you're going to write with a capital letter. Let's have a look at some written examples. For our written example, we've got Monday as our day of the week. Our month, we've used April. And for our holiday, we've used Easter. All of these start with a capital letter. I haven't given you any of the seasons as examples because they don't get capital letters. Moving on to number 5. Some more words that always get capital letters. Cities, countries, nationalities, and languages. Our example city that I've used is Johannesburg, but of course any city or town or village or place where people live starts with a capital letter. You might remember this from our points on proper nouns. The same goes for countries. Our example country that I've used here is France, but of course any country worldwide starts with a capital letter. The nationality that I've used in our example here is Portuguese, but same goes for all nationalities and cultures, they all begin with a capital letter. And of course, the same goes for languages, including sign languages. You've made it through 5 types of words that all start with a capital letter. It's time for number 6. This is your final one that does get capital letters. Remember, after this one, I'm going to show you a type of word that doesn't get one. Okay, so keep going. You've got to keep watching till the end of this to see where you shouldn't capitalize. This one is all about time periods and eras. I don't know if you've noticed this, but if you're ever seeing anything in writing about a time period or an era, you will usually see it capitalized. Time periods of things like World War I, World War II, and eras of things like the Dark Ages or the Middle Ages, things like that. These things are always capitalized because it is really like a group of time put together, so it's kind of like a proper noun. Here you can see our examples in writing. I've used World War II and the Middle Ages. So that's it for our 6 type of words that always start with a capital letter. I bet you're wondering what this all-important one type of word that doesn't get a capital letter is. Well, let's jump right into it. The one type of word that you really shouldn't capitalize is the type of word that comes straight after a colon. A colon is those 2 dots that you put just before a list. Very often you might be tempted to capitalize the word that comes after a colon because it kind of feels like a new sentence. But in truth, the rule is that you really shouldn't capitalize that. Of course, there are exceptions to this rule, English being English. So let's have a look at the majority of times when you don't capitalize, but the few little exceptions to the rule when you may. So the majority of time when you don't capitalize the word after a colon would be when you use it with just one or a few words that aren't a full sentence. So for example, I'm going to the store and I need to buy milk, eggs, bread and cheese. You wouldn't capitalize any of those words. You don't start any of those words with a capital letter. Now let's have a look at the exception to that rule. Once again, the exception comes in when you're going to use a full sentence after the colon. This is going back to our very first point. Remember what I said, that if you're going to be writing a full sentence, the very first letter of that sentence needs to be written with a capital letter. So, if you're going to be writing a sentence something like this, James always films his content with a cap on for 2 reasons, and you put a colon there. Then you're going to write a full sentence, something like, his viewers only recognize him with a cap on, full stop, and then comes your next sentence, he's also balding. That's 2 full sentences. That means that you're going to start those sentences with a capital letter. So that's really just a little bit of an exception to the rule that you can use, but remember that most of the time after a colon, no capital letter. You've made it to the end of all the points about using capital letters when writing your content. Since this series is all about content writing made easy, let's have a look at some pretty easy ways that you can make sure that your content is perfect before you post it. The best way to do that is to make sure that you proofread your content before you hit that publish button. Proofread your work before you hit send, either the same day but much later after you've written it, or the next day if you've got time. Get a friend or someone that you trust to proofread your work, or send it to a professional to do it if you've got budgets. You can also run it through Grammarly. Grammarly has free tiers or paid tiers, so you can see whichever one suits you best. But just be aware that Grammarly does make weird mistakes. So make sure that you don't just click accept all to Grammarly suggestions. Make sure that they really are doing what you wanted to say in whatever you're writing in your article. That's it for this video. If you liked it, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.